It is season 6 of The Rant, brought to you by Jack Kissy Ford. We love those guys. Thank you for being fantastic sponsors for more than half a decade now. Caden McFarland, Tulsa World columnist Bill Haston, back for a second season. Bill, get in here. Good to see you, sir. And we have Jacob Toby this year. Put the camera on that guy. He's last year was a probationary period.
Do that again.
He passed. He made it.
It's called a dab right there.
I understand what it is.
You know that. That's called a dab.
That's outdated. I feel like even I know that's not what the kids are doing anymore. We had to bring a millennial in. Jacob's going to keep us on time. He's going to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of fun this year. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
It is.
We've got a whole lot of great things to talk about. Jacob, take it away, man.
Well, I want to start every segment, every week we're going to start with what the best thing you saw in college football was. Give me 20 seconds. It should take 40 seconds each. Don't be slower than that, please. Caden, go first. Best thing you saw this week.
Well, I can be a whole lot shorter than that. Shane Beamer was the best thing I saw this week. All fired up after that first touchdown. Jeremiah Hall scores, and he's gives him the accidental headbutt and had the stitches right there. Sooners assistant coach Shane Beamer. That was the best thing I saw.
Bill, what'd you see? Best thing.
Well, I mean, the Georgia State postgame after the Tennessee upset was pretty fantastic. Les Miles dancing in the postgame locker room. Mac Brown, that was I think a lot of people I think a lot of people were really happy to see Mac Brown win that game.
I was. Absolutely.
I mean, I'll just keep it low. You know, the Tulsa defense to limit Michigan State to one offensive touchdown, very impressive.
So you're keeping it local with that? That's the best thing you saw?
But I'll stay local with my ultimate best thing I saw.
Okay.
Probably just say Bryce Bray from Bixby was really good in his first college start.
I dig
Shouting out. There you go. Let's talk OU first. 49-31 win over Houston. Debut Jalen Hurts went pretty well. Heisman talk already. Guys, what do you think?
Bill, take this one first. What were you most impressed with?
What were you most impressed?
His straight line speed far exceeds what I perceived it to be from watching on television.
Yep.
He's a little more shifty than I realized.
Yeah.
His change of direction, there's a suddenness about him that I didn't realize he had. And obviously very, very efficient throwing the football. And the only criticism I've heard, but it's pretty persistent criticisms, I don't think he can execute the deep passing game like Murray. Well,
we'll see. I mean, like Murray, no.
They don't need that. They don't need that to win the Big 12 or to get back to the playoff. They don't need that. It's a great luxury to have, and it gives you ability to strike from all three levels or at all three levels. But so what if he still completes 68%? With that run game behind him, and including his ability to run it, shoot, I think they're in great shape.
He was 20 of 23, but I'm with you. The thing that impressed me the most was his ability to run. We all knew, he's a good running quarterback, but that just means the guy's pretty fast with some, he's physical. No, he's got incredible, like next level vision. He would be the best running back on my favorite team, Notre Dame, and maybe more than one top 10 team in the country. Wow. There was a play on the second series where there wasn't much of a hole, and he has to kind of find, a little bit of daylight through the traffic, and then just a jump cut out to the side that was gorgeous, and then saunters to the sideline for 10 yards untouched. He is an elite runner, ran for 176 in this game, and here's the thing that impressed me most probably. The way Lincoln Riley, in short order, has tailored this air raid offense to what Jalen Hurts can do. We saw quarterback run game stuff we have never seen before, not only from this offense, we saw quarterback run game stuff I don't think I've ever seen before. It went back to like the 80s when teams were running option football, but, melded that with the air raid. And it makes it that much easier for Jalen as a passer. That's why he went 20 of 23. He doesn't have the arm of Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield. He never will, but he can be incredibly efficient in the passing game because his ability to run makes it that much easier to throw the ball. It was gorgeous.
Caden, you bring up Kyler Murray and you bring up Baker Mayfield. Bill, I want to ask you this. How close can this offense get to those offenses of 2017, 2018, some of the best ever we've seen, some of the most efficient we've ever seen?
I mean, if your only measurement is strictly stats, then you're not seeing the more important picture. Can they function? Can they achieve consistent run-pass balance? Do they have the ability to control games with their run game? Do they have the ability to move the chains? With all those weapons he has at his disposal, throwing it? Yeah, Jacob, I think so. Now, does that mean 48 points and 570 yards a game like they averaged last year? I don't know. They maybe not because they may not play at the same tempo, and they may not get as many opportunities. What they have last week? 61 plays, 60
Yep.
plays.
Yeah, 61 plays.
I mean, not that long ago they were striving for 80, 85 a game, right? So, if your bottom line is winning, absolutely this OU team has a chance to be at that same level of effectiveness. I mean, unless you're all hung up on stats, in which case you're probably going to be a little disappointed. But
For the first 12 or 13 games of this year, they're going to be
first 12 or 13?
Yeah, that's right. Every bit as good as last year's offense was for the most part, for all intents and purposes. There's not a defense on that schedule, save Texas under the right circumstances. There's not a defense on that schedule that can bother these guys. They will have to be off of their game for anybody to stop these guys in the regular season. The question for me is, when we get to the college football playoff, will they be able to make an Alabama or Clemson as uncomfortable as they did in the final 3 quarters of the game against Bama last year, or the first 3 quarters basically against Georgia 2 years ago?
But what are we talking about now?
My guess is they won't be quite as equipped for that because of Jalen's limitations as a passer. To me, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, those 2 offenses were probably better equipped. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to lose, because this guy, Alex Grinch, if he gets this defense playing in a way that's competent, you might still be able to win a game against those guys. But I don't think the offensive ceiling is quite as high as it's been the last 2 years. That is not taking a shot at anybody, because they're still going to be awfully close.
But think about this. In consecutive home games, the OU Sooner defense gave up 524 yards to Kansas, total yards, 350 rush yards to Kansas, Jacob, and then
Puka Williams was running all over the place.
That's right. And then the next home game for OU, Houston has 221 yards through 3 quarters, 408 total. So
that's improvement. Sure. Lots of it.
It's a tremendous improvement. So
they tackled a lot better, and you didn't have guys running free in the back end, which to me, against a Houston offense, it's very capable.
Sure.
Great quarterback, 50 touchdowns last year in like 11 games. It was certainly improvement, and that was just step one. I do think this is going to be a functioning defense that's got some competency about it, which absolutely was not the case last year.
Top 70?
They're not going to be great. There aren't enough pros on that defense to be great. But I think they're going to be fine. What did you say?
Top 70?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Top 50 defense.
That should make it then.
Even if it's not historically prolific offensively, they got a chance to be a better team, because they'll be better on the other side of the ball.
Agreed.
And I mean, Lincoln knows how to work the clock too, and the tempo thing is interesting to me.
How about the fact that they only this is routine for them now? 61 plays, 10 yards per play. They have maximized efficiency with a college football offense. I just haven't seen anything quite like what Lincoln Riley's been able to do in now his 5th season in Norman.
Jacob, Kansas ran for 350 against these guys, and 2 weeks later they made the college football playoff. So I just think
It'll
that
never be done again.
Well, maybe not.
Perhaps no. Let's move on to those OSU Cowboys. 52-36. They beat Oregon State up in Corvallis. Spencer Sanders, better than expected? ?
For me, he was.
In an immediate sense, yeah, we have.
And there was a lot of chatter about maybe Drew Brown was going to get the start in this ball game. Was Mike Gundy messing with us, Bill?
I think so.
How long had he known that Spencer Sanders was going to be the guy? Because, boy, from what we saw Friday night in Corvallis, you would have to think he knew for a long time leading up that, Spencer Sanders has got to be my guy. He was dynamic, Bill, and also played within himself. Now, Oregon State's no good, and defensively they're really no good. But what I saw from Spencer Sanders can unlock some things, and I think differently about this OSU offense. Look, we knew Tylan Wallace was great, but now Chuba Hubbard looks like he complements Wallace in a way that maybe nobody in the country has a better running back receiver duo. And Spencer Sanders is good enough, dynamic at times, but also plays
Did you
within
see
himself
that jump?
enough. Like, these guys are right there, top 5, 6 offense in the country. If they continue to play the way they did in the opener. It was just the opener, but brilliant is what they were.
Well, I would say the same thing about Sanders in the passing game that I would say about Jalen Hurts. You don't have to throw the deep ball like Murray or Mason Rudolph did, because did you see what Tylan Wallace did after the catch?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was not one of his better throws on the night, and it turns into a 50-yard touchdown
There you go.
because Wallace is superhuman, Bill.
And so is CeeDee Lamb, and so are all these guys
That's
around
a
here.
good point.
I mean, you don't have to throw it 55 yards and hit a guy's fingertips to get a big play out of it. You just got to be proficient, consistently proficient. And the best development that came out of that game of all for OSU is the offensive line seems so much better than it's been for 5 years.
Yeah.
For 5 years, that's been a problem position group for Oklahoma State. And I really believe that I'm not going to say it's fixed, but they're trending in a good way earlier in the season than they have since about 2012.
Yeah, that leads to our next question.
Yeah, what is the ceiling for the OSU offense now that the offensive line is pretty capable of doing what they did in game number 1?
Yeah, to pick up where Bill left off, Mike Gundy said this week they graded the offensive line's performance against Oregon State better than they have ever, as far as he could remember.
And
Who knows
this
what that
was
means.
the opener of his 15th season.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing an offensive line can do against Oregon State that makes me think, okay, after one game, we can put them in the same sentence with some of those Joe Wickline offensive lines that, I mean, in 2011.
No, I can tell.
You know what I mean?
The 2011 Texas A&M game is the best game they've ever played up front, ever.
But-
so there you go.
After one game, I do feel confident saying this offensive line is better than any Mason Rudolph had. And that allows perhaps, we just talked about Hubbard, Wallace, and now even as a freshman, Spencer Sanders. If that O-line brings up its play as much as we think it will, you could have an offense that's comparable to what they had in 2017 when you had Mason Rudolph as a senior, James Washington, and Justice Hill. Like, that's totally in play. And really, frankly, against better teams in the bigger games, they might be better equipped because you need great offensive line play in those situations,
Right.
and they might just get it. I'm not going to tell you right now definitively, absolutely, they're going to get it, but it seems like that hire of Dickey
Right.
is it like we can't even necessarily wrap our arms around at this moment just how key, like we may look back at that hire like we do the Dana Holgerson hire. You know, not that you can necessarily do that with an offensive line coach, but something similar where, boy, that was a brilliant stroke by Mike.
No,
Gundy.
I wrote that last week that you know, by season's end, we might be looking at the Charlie Dickey hire as having been as meaningful as the Grinch hire, as the Gleason hire, or any of them.
Yeah, sure.
And
Gleason, by the way, went unmentioned by us, but loved some of the creativity we saw
I did
from him
too.
for sure.
But
We could have the two best offenses in the country at the end of the
Oh,
year.
my
Like,
gosh.
I mean, who's better? I mean,
No, I know.
Georgia is really, really good, but they're all new receivers. Alabama's great. Okay, Clemson. All right, I apologize. I got carried away. We could have two of the top 5 offenses in the country.
But you know what? Since 2008, Jacob, probably 6, 7 seasons around here, OU and OSU have been top 5 in the country in offense. You talk about
be another.
spoiled, rotten fans.
are.
This
That's us, baby.
This has been a heck of a decade for the passing game and, for that matter, offense as a whole. Unbelievable. And then now we see what we saw last week.
Can we switch to the TU offense? A little shaky versus number 18 Michigan State, 28-7 loss. Defense, muy bueno.
Shaky.
Offense, not so much. Talk about the offense first. Are we worried?
About the offense?
Yes.
Let's just say it.
They are so happy. They're not going to see Sparty again.
Well, they are this weekend. It's the San
Oh,
Jose
yeah, that's right.
Spartans.
They're going to see a very, very different version of the
Right.
Spartans. I don't think we have any idea what TU has offensively. I don't think they know what they have offensively at the moment. The running game's going to be a whole lot better than it was. I mean,
Sure.
forget the negative 73 yards. The running backs, Taylor and Brooks, ran 13 times for negative 1 yard. They're not going to see anything like that, including Oklahoma State in a couple weeks. They're not going to see anything like that the rest of the year. They could be fine as a running. We just don't know. Young offensive line, it'll definitely take a step back from what it's been.
Right.
We just don't know. Zach Smith, frankly, in that spot against that defense was better than I thought he'd be. I mean, he made some awful mistakes and the snapping was terrible, but he made some throws and he stood in there and kept coming back in a way that I thought was really positive. And so, look, I don't know what TU's got offensively, but I know this, Bill, they're going to have to be really, really good Saturday because this is one of the most important games, if not the most important game on the schedule. Like, you got to win this one.
Absolute must-win game. Jacob, Don Tomkowski at TU has been in his position at TU for
Yes.
35 years, okay, media relations director. He and I talked after the Tuesday news conference and went down memory lane, and we agreed that this was probably the best defense TU's faced since 1987, the OU Sooners in 1987.
Wow.
So you got to kind of just brush this one to the side and see what they do. It's very important, though, to get off to a clean start at San Jose.
Yep.
No doubt.
So quickly, real quick, a second half just about going on NBC. Most encouraging sign you saw from the defense, which was pretty good.
Go ahead, Bill.
Having only allowed the one offensive touchdown, Jacob, and you know what? The fact that even after it became obvious that it was going to be an evening of futility for the offense, they didn't quit.
Hung in there.
They played their ass off.
For me, it's the sudden change defense. Very often, even good defenses can be bothered by that and end up giving up a touchdown when you only have 18 yards to defend. That offense, TU's offense, kept putting them in the worst situations possible, and they kept holding Michigan State to field goals to keep that thing within, shouting distance, really for the entire ball game. The sudden change defense, in addition to the fact that we really think this is going to be a fine defensive squad, there was a lot of good stuff going on. They play with a spirit.
They do.
That's really good.
And you know what? They held up. The physicality of it held up all night. Yep. They were good. TU's defense was really good.
Joseph Gillespie, thumbs up.
There you go.
I give it to you. Are we wrapping it up?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the third quarter started. I like the feel of this. It was
I do
a little
too.
more rapid fire.
I like my area over here.
Fun.
This is my area.
We brought Jacob in. That's good stuff, man.
There's 3 games this weekend.
That's what I wanted to pick
There's
on
Army,
TU, by the way.
Michigan.
Yes. Okay.
There's LSU, Texas, and there's Broken Arrow Union. And if the other 2 are as good as Broken Arrow Union is going to be, then we're all in for a treat. I can't wait to watch that game.
Broken Arrow last season beat Union for only the second time in 38 tries.
Right.
They went on to go undefeated and win the state championship.
Yes.
Union lost its opener down in Texas. Broken Arrow won theirs. You would think, not that their sword is broken, but that just that Broken Arrow would have the edge and confidence. Jacob was at practice yesterday. That is not the case at Union. Those kids never, ever, ever see themselves as the underdog. They're going to play great tomorrow. I think Broken Arrow will as well.
I wouldn't miss it.
That ball game's going to be a whole lot of fun.
I'm telling you, Bill, Coach Fred told me, and he was talking about it to his teammates, to his players rather. He said they can be the best team in the state this year, and I heard him say that. So
I had people at the coaches convention this summer tell me. I asked several, who do you favor in 6A1? And they pointed at Kurt Frederick.
Yeah. All right. So, I don't know if you want to give a pick on that game, but give me the other 2 and then also TU.
I think Michigan will find a way. Is that the game you mean?
Yeah.
Michigan will find a way against
Texas.
Army, but it'll be really interesting. And LSU's going to beat Texas.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Bill says horns down.
No. I just think I don't think Texas is ready to win that kind of game.
San Jose State won last week. They, looked better than they typically look. They're trying to go 2-0 for the first time since like 1987. Are you going to win this game, Bill?
Yeah, they are.
30.
No, 30. It'll be Jacob 30-23. You can cut that out.
I will. I'll cut it and put it on Twitter.
All right.
Get rich.
Magician.
Magician. He picked the OU Houston game on the nose. 49-31. Watch the Rant. Get rich, kids.
Yeah.
All right. You sign us off now, buddy.
Sign us off?
Yes, sir.
All right. See you, everybody. Thanks for watching the Rant.